Hi Anti-Society, welcome back to the Anti-Social Planet. Today we are checking out chapters 61 and 62 of Tower of God. So in the last chapter, we spent a lot of time setting up what this last examination is going to be on Evankel's floor. Obviously a special examination because Vom is trying to help Rachel continue with her journey up the tower, so it's going to be trickier than it has been in the past, and I'm sure there'll be some other things thrown into the mix that I can't even predict at this point. But we did end up meeting gobby dolphins, which might be one of my favorite things in this series so far. They look so cute. Their queen, less so. She is probably going to try and swallow Bomb and Rachel, so I don't know how I feel about that. But at the moment, that is the objective. We're trying to be eaten by the queen. Really know where the logic is, that is going to be the test for this particular set of regulars going through the tower. But when has the tower ever done something that I thought was entirely logical? So at the moment, we are trying to get Bomb and Rachel captured by the net that the gobby dolphins use to collect fish towards their queen so that they can be swallowed and then find their way out the other end. Somehow, very Jonah and the Whale, I don't really know what's going on, but that is the objective. They're trying to be eaten by the queen and not by one of the other creatures that is roaming around that are also interested in getting the fish that the gobby dolphins are collecting. And of course, Bomb and Rachel are getting help from the rest of their friends, so Kuhn taking point and using his particular set of abilities that he learned in classes to keep track of everyone and keep the plan together, help communication between everyone, stuff like that. We haven't seen where a lot of them are. We saw Hots, who was out doing some scouting things, and Shibitsu doing some scouting things, but we haven't seen some of the other ones like Endorsi and Rock and what have you, so there's still some players to come into this, especially with the fishermen. We haven't seen any of them. So anyway, I digress. But they might be useful when the one small, just tiny little hiccup of there being this thing called the bull might show up, probably will show up, which is some kind of mysterious being that has recently shown up at this particular part of the tower, and no one really seems to know where it came from or what it is or what it's gonna do, but it has eaten people before. So that's something. We ended off the last chapter with it waking up in some capacity, so probably gonna have to deal with that at some point. Don't really know what that will entail. I don't know if anyone does yet. So we had a lot of just setting up the basic information of what this last part is going to be. I think now that we have some of the motion of this test starting to take place, that we're going to actually get into what this test is and the skills that our characters have honed over the course of the previous chapters. So I'm excited and apprehensive, which seems to be how I usually go into these chapters, especially when we're starting a new test of some kind, because I don't really know what I'm about to step into, especially like end of season kind of things. It just feels like this is going to be a big moment, and I'm not sure if I'm ready, but let's get into chapter 61 nonetheless. Okay, chapter 61, and I see Lady Yuri. I'm very excited for her to come back into the story every time we see like little bits of her being part of it, so I get excited. She's probably one of the more charismatic characters. I can't really say that confidently now that we've met a lot of them, but I remember really liking Lady Yuri at the beginning, so I feel like I just have like a soft spot for her. The judgment of like, you want me to do what? It is more like a cliff than a path. Did she push Evan? Aww. I remember the Barnacle Goblins, which is also a cute name, though they seem a little bit intimidating. I'm just glad to see that Hot seems to be okay. Quant did a number on him, so I'm glad that he's just, back to being quiet and observant, though a little bit intense sometimes. What did your spidey sense get? Please tell me it's not the bull, because I don't want Hots to have to go up against another super powerful thing. I just got done worrying about him. Please don't do this to me again. It's never just a wild animal, is it? I also love the little sound effects around the gobby dolphins. It's like cute, because it just sounds so cute in my brain. Okay, but if a panel ever summed up my life, I'm so tired of being nervous when nothing's really happening. That's just life for me. I am interested to know if Shibitsu knew what was going on and he played along the way that Rock did, because Shibitsu is like super observant. Yeah, okay, it was obvious. But yeah, if anyone would have picked up on it, would have been Shibitsu, because Shibitsu and Kun tend to be on a similar wavelength, even though they have very different personalities. And I just find them very interesting together. Interesting to say, like, Bomb has kind of like what everyone wants, basically. And I talked about this a bit before, where I talked about how Bomb is a bit of an anomaly in that he has a very small, almost simplistic motivation for being in the tower, in that like he's not there for himself, he's there for someone else. Like his desire isn't to want something that's very specific to him and to want to accomplish something specific. Like he wants to be with Rachel, that's his only motivation, and whatever Rachel wants, he's just there to help her through it. And that's very different from everyone else who has like their own complex reasons for wanting something personally from being in the tower, in terms of like something that directly affects them. Whereas like Bomb couldn't care less. He's going to continue up the tower if Rachel wants that. If Rachel had decided, no, we're stopping right here, I don't care about stars anymore, Bomb would leave. You know, like he wouldn't keep going. And that's a very different motivation from everyone else. And it's like that sense of like having someone who matters enough in your life that like they are the thing that is like your heart's desire. I kind of hesitate with that word because I feel like it can be pulled into like romantic connotations a lot of the time, and that's not what I mean. What I mean is just like knowing that at the end of the day, things are just things, and you can wish for power, authority, riches, skill, whatever, but if you don't have people to share it with, it's very empty. And I say that as an introvert and someone who like does not have a huge group of people that I interact with on a regular basis in my actual personal life. But the people that I do choose to spend close personal time with are people that very much matter to me. And I feel like that is way more important to me than just like having the most friends I possibly can. Like I was never interested in being like popular in any kind of way, which is kind of ironic given that I'm making videos for the internet for a bunch of people. So maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. My point being that a lot of them kind of want these superficial things or things that they think will fix something about their life or themselves. And the truth is they all want someone who just understands them and accepts them. And you can see that with the way that they're all drawn to Bomb, because Bomb is like that. He's just going to trust them and he's just going to accept them for who they are. And he might not always agree with it, but he's not the kind of person to lash out at that. Like he's more interested in trying to understand why they are the way that they are, even if he doesn't agree with it, if he doesn't understand. And I feel like that is so much more important to people who have obviously been through a lot of stuff, is to like have someone who's just going to listen to them when they try to explain something to them, to try to talk about who they are and why they are. And I feel like that's really this conversation is pulling from, is that Bomb may not have like a physical possession or like the things that you might associate with like wanting to go up the tower to get some kind of wish, desire, the thing that you want. Like Hung Sung saying, like everything that you could possibly dream of and ever want is, you know, in the tower, at the top of the tower. And for Bomb it isn't. And I feel like all of the regulars kind of see that and they want to be there, you know, like they want to have that mentality that Bomb just kind of naturally has. Okay, I feel like we're getting some Shibitsu backstory and I very much want that, but I also feel like maybe it'll break my heart. I do like that Shibitsu is kind of touching on like the cycle though of when you feel like someone has wronged you and you feel like it then makes it okay or justifies that you do something similar to them, it creates that cycle, right? Where everyone feels like, well, I've had bad things happen to me, so I can act in this way. I can be vindictive towards either the person who actually did something to me or just someone else, like to vent that feeling. And it always just continues to like push the hurt forward, right? And I like that Shibitsu is talking about how he's coming from a place of like not wanting that vengeance. Maybe he did at some point. I don't know him super well now that I think about it, but instead channeling that into, I see someone who hasn't been through the same heartache as me and has something that really matters to them. I'm going to protect them so they don't go through the same thing. And I feel like that's like the two sides of how you react to something awful happening to you. So there's kind of people who immediately go into that kind of vindictive place and they feel justified in doing awful things because they've had awful things done to them, and then people who take that and say, okay, how do I make it so that no one goes through that same thing as me? And I feel like Shibitsu is very much the latter in that one, as opposed to like Anaak, who's a little bit self-destructive and very much wants vengeance and is steamrolling anything that gets in her way. It's a very different way of going about losing something that's very important to you. I also feel very protective of Bomb, and I think that it's because he has that quality about him. Like, I see that he's very innocent and he has this very like genuine way of interacting with people, and I just want to protect him because I'm like, bad things happen in the world. The world is too mean for Bomb sometimes, and I just want him to be able to stay in this little bubble where things are more simplistic, even though I can already see that it's starting to fall apart around him. Like, he is already starting to see the cracks in his original frame of mind. I think specifically of the panel chapter 59, like the last reaction that I did, where he was looking up the sky with Rachel but his eyes were covered, and I feel like that's such a shift in Bomb to like be with Rachel but be hiding something, and there's something different about them being together. It doesn't have the same pure quality as like when they were looking up before, like when they were underground and they could see like the light shining through. There's a very different feeling about that scene, so I already know that Bomb's like losing some of this. Uh-oh, Shibitsu seeing something too? Do not go towards the mysterious light, especially like with all of the aquatic imagery. I'm just thinking anglerfish. Don't go towards the light, sir. Please don't. Especially since it looks like an eye. That very much makes me think anglerfish. Don't do it. Don't follow. No, I feel like he's running away. He's trying to run away from it, which, I mean, fair enough. Oh, hello. Hi. Are you also the bull thing? Because that aesthetic was like black and red, but maybe you're something else. I don't know. Ah, see, yeah. The bull, it's almost like an eel, but I also have very little knowledge of like marine biology, so I could be very much off. So if the bull is with Shibitsu, then what did Hot see? Maybe it's not though, because he is saying like it doesn't look anything like rock. He says it's super cute. I agree. I like that Shibitsu and I have like a similar personality, and that we just have like, we just call people cutie and stuff. But he's saying like it doesn't look anything like rock, and I agree. So I'm like, maybe it isn't. Maybe what Hats is seeing is the bull, and then this is just something that Shibitsu thinks is the bull. Because it does look different. Same coloring. See, because doesn't... No, I think it is the bull then. And then I'm seeing it from a different angle. I don't like that it's drooling though. Oh my gosh, don't attack it. I love the dolphins. Oh my gosh, are we gonna throw a rock at it? Is that our plan? Ah, Shibitsu, way to get its attention. Oh, didn't even get the acknowledgement. It does look like it has like an anglerfish thing going on with the light at the end of the appendage. I don't even know. Are we gonna try and tackle it? It very much makes me think of when, like way early on, when Bomb and Kun just like attached themselves onto rock. Uh-oh. I don't like seeing Shibitsu get hurt. Oh, it has a few teeth. Ew. And it licked him. Is it assessing? I mean, at least he's trying. The free samples are closed. Sorry. Poor Shibitsu. He's a disaster, but he is doing his best. And honestly, surviving a lot longer than I would have thought. So good for him. Oh, did Anaak show up? I just see a flash of green. Makes me think Anaak. There she is. We love to see it. I mean, she is also a disaster, but in a very different way. Endorsi! I have such a soft spot for Endorsi. I know that she's like not a good person, but still. It's nice to see them working together on something though, after they definitely tried to kill each other. I mean, like not getting along, but you know, working side by side is still an improvement. They're not attacking each other. That's like leagues better than last time. That was me, Shibitsu. I'm like, they're together, but also bickering. Okay, chapter 62. We're having a flashback, going back to before the test. Were we planning with, I'm assuming, Lorraine taking a nap in the center? Yes, there is a lot of balance to this ecosystem, which I mean is good, but also seems almost artificial. But I already talked about how I'm like, is the wine glass shape of this ecosystem natural, or was it created either by the like gobby dolphins and like that's the preferred shape of their home that they like to have because of like how it functions, or is it a matter of the tower creating this ecosystem in order to have tests? It's a good question. There was also the wetworm, which is like a different force. I guess it's like connected to the barnacle goblins, but at the same time it does feed on the fish as well, so it's like another force that is like eating fish. Also, if you get eaten by one, it would be bad. Oh no. don't the thieves, the barnacle goblins, like cut open the worms anyway? Like, don't they kill the worms themselves? Unless for some reason it doesn't end up killing the worms, in which case I have follow-up questions about the anatomy of these wet worms. Okay, so spear bearers are in charge of the worms. Scouts were watching movements. Fishermen maybe are just backup if something happens. They're on call. Maybe? We might find out if I just keep reading. I do wonder if they'll be able to have Rock stay out of things though, because he seems a tad impulsive and wants to be part of the hunt. So I feel like if anything goes down, Rock's gonna be there. It's a good plan though, like use the balanced nature of the ecosystem to your advantage. Like you don't want to add in something to cause everything to go into chaos in the ecosystem if it can already take care of itself. Like you just need to be able to navigate through it, preferably with like the least amount of influence on what's going on, because the less you affect the ecosystem, the less it's going to like rear its head back at you. If you like threaten safety and like food chain of a group of creatures, they're probably going to retaliate in some kind of way. So I like the plan of let's just use what's already here and do the least amount of work possible, which seems very cool, of just like how do I manipulate the pieces where I don't have to be involved. They're definitely going to have to adapt, though. Lots of things are going to happen. Besides just the bull. It's an invasive species, but just of one. I like how the bull might not appear. It will. That was me too, where I was like, yep, it will. It's going to show up. There's no way we're setting that up and not having to pay off. I like the image of Hung Sung as the coffee maker, though. Doesn't Hung Sung drink instant coffee, though? So why would he need a machine? I agree. Simple is good. The princesses of Jihad that may or may not try to kill each other at any second. Seems like it'll work out. I love how Anaak is always like biting when they go like chibi or Shibitsu. I like how Endorsi's like, these conditions don't work for me. I refuse to participate anymore. Are they literally just sitting out while Shibitsu is trying to get help? Are we pouting? Bull's just there like, what's going on? I would help you, darling. I don't know how much help it would be because I'm like 100 pounds soaking wet, so... But I would be cheering you on from the sideline. I like the text where it's like, even the text is flipped. Even though obviously it's a new panel because we have an asymmetrical design for the bull. Just having a casual conversation while Shibitsu fights for his life in the background. Ooh, good plan. See, that should have been the incentive to make them work together, in that making them work simultaneously on the same thing, make it a competition. Definitely the way to get them to work their hardest. Ooh, she's trying to get the Black March? Interesting. I feel like Lady Yuri is gonna swoop in and get it back, though. Like Onyx, like, you have nothing that I want. Oh dear. So she wants her dignity. High stakes. I feel like this is a very iconic panel. I'm very interested to see exactly how strong this bull is, because seeing Shibitsu struggle against it isn't quite the same as seeing like Endorsi go up against it. Because Endorsi is like far closer to like the rankers and stuff, so I'll be interested to see how those power levels kind of compare to each other. I mean, they might end up fighting together. It could happen, you know? Maybe. Weird things happen in the tower all the time. Very confident, and I feel like this is like setting up for her to get smacked down or something. There's my boy being watchful. Probably wants to be part of this and is a little bit frustrated on being on the sidelines. Or are we glaring at Ghost because there's some competition there? I'm just like, entertain me, peasant. Ooh, or being called? No one gets his name right. I probably can't either. Paracule? You seem to think of Hercule. So I'm just assuming similar pronunciation. Everything kind of happening. I hope, knock on wood, that nothing really bad happens because Endorsi and Anaak are busy with something else. So here's hoping that things don't go super sideways and they might need some really powerful fighters to help them out with something because they're currently busy. So we confirmed that the bull has made an appearance because of course it has. Why wouldn't it have shown up after Hung Sang just kind of casually threw it in there that was a possibility? But definitely in a different capacity than I thought it would be, but I like that they already prepped for it. Like Kun was like, it's going to show up. Like, it will. There's no way that we're not going to have to deal with something either that is the bull or is very close to it because Hung Sang. And that they're like, all right, what do we do about that? We have two princesses of Jihad. We'll send them. They're our best fighters. They'll deal with it. That's their job. So I like that we're like once again seeing that Kun really sees a lot of steps ahead, and I probably don't even fathom how far ahead he is. He always has plans within plans and makes me feel dumb. So I'm sure that there's lots of other stuff, but I like that we got to go back into that little flashback and see some of the planning that went into this, and the fact that they're like, this is how the ecosystem works. Instead of completely wrecking our way through, let's just go with the flow of how it works, because the way that the ecosystem works ends with fish getting to the queen, and that's like where we want to be, so why would we disrupt this? And even Kun saying like, let's keep it simple, I think is really important, because you can get caught up in like really elaborate plans, but I feel like that makes it more difficult for them to adjust, which is also something that they brought up of, we're going to have to change things as we go because something's going to come up that's going to change it. So if we have really complex plans that rely a lot on like a domino effect of a bunch of things lining up so that it works, it's going to fall apart the moment one of those pieces isn't where it needs to be. So keeping it simple means that it's a lot easier to adjust things on the fly, and I like that Kun has like kind of shifted from thinking more elaborately into like, how do I think on my feet and how do I utilize the fact that there are people in this group who are also good at thinking on their feet. I like seeing Kun rely on other people a little bit, trusting people to also be good at what they're doing, which is something that Kun was not very good at to begin with. So I like seeing that development with his character as well. And of course, I like seeing that Shibitsu is like legitimately one of the braver people on this team. Like, I feel like he fits so well into kind of the bumbling friend character archetype, and yet he is one of the most intelligent and one of the bravest, and he just has so much in him that makes him like more than he outwardly seems. And I definitely think that part of it is he wants to be perceived in a certain way, and he's like, I want to be seen as kind of this very approachable, kind of ridiculous person on the outside, but there's a lot more going on internally, and I don't know if that's like a maneuver on his part or if it's just that he likes to be approachable. I know that for me it used to be like when I was younger and I would meet people, their like first impression of me would be like a little bit intimidated because I tended to come off in a very like academic way. A lot of the people that I met were in school too, so it was like the setting of being like in academic classes and being kind of like higher level stuff that apparently was a little intimidating, and I had to kind of work on being more approachable. And I just kind of have a goofy personality anyway, but like also I did a lot of math in university, so I've been told I'm a little bit intimidating when I talk about stuff. So I feel like Shibitsu and I have like a similar vibe in that there's a ton going on, but we kind of have a different outward appearance that people don't quite catch it sometimes. But we also got a hint of a backstory with Shibitsu, which I am very intrigued by, that he had something that was important to him and he lost it. Someone took it away from him. So I hope that we come back to that. Probably not soon. I feel like that's something that we'll come back to way, way later when it's like more directly applicable, but still intriguing. It just put into perspective that I don't know a lot about Shibitsu, like other than the things that have happened in the tower. Like, we haven't gotten any hints of like family or friends or his hometown. We haven't gotten those little bits of pieces. Like, even like Hats, we know a little bit about him in that he's talked about some of his beliefs and culture and stuff like that have kind of seeped through in the way that he's talking. Shibitsu, it hasn't, which is actually interesting to me. So I feel like I'm gonna have to keep an eye out for like little clues about him, because now that I think about it, he's really, really good at like masking that kind of stuff, and kind of goes back to the idea of him having like a very specific facade that he has. Like, he wants people to perceive him a certain way, but he's also closed off in a lot of ways, which is interesting to me. I feel like I have to reevaluate how I look at Shibitsu now. But we've of course got Anaak and Endorsi coming in, making a contest out of fighting, because of course they did. So we'll see how that works out, who ends up winning. Kind of high stakes for that one. When and where Lady Yuri shows up, I'm sure it will be with impeccable timing. And it looks like we're going to be getting into Bum and Rachel's part of this test, as we saw that the barnacle goblins were moving. So it looks like there are lots of things starting to get into motion as they get farther into this test. I hope you enjoyed reading those chapters along with me. You can click this playlist to go and see my previous reactions, or you can subscribe so you miss next time I post a Tower of God reaction, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!